This is Discovering the Scriptures with Dr. Peter John Parisis. We're going to be looking at Daniel 2, verse 11. I'm going to read it in context, which is the paragraph of 2:10 and 11. Reading from the King James Bible, in context, quote, "The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, 'There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asketh such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.'" Unquote. Now, let's read the Young's Literal Translation. Quote, "And the thing that the king is asking is precious, and others are there not that do show it before the king, save the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." Unquote. Now, I'm going to read the King James Version again, this time just verse 11. Quote, "And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." Unquote. Now, let's go ahead and parse out this verse and see what we have here. And it is a rare. So let's take a look and see if Daniel has ever used that Aramaic word anyplace else. And he has not. So that is one time he's used this Aramaic word. And let's continue on. "Thing that the king requireth." Now let's parse out the word for requireth. It is a PL stem. So basically that is a causative. And it is an active participle aspect. Basically, you can put down to be in front of it, and you'll get the meaning of it. To be requireth. And there is none other that can show. Now let's parse out the Aramaic word for that can show. Aramaic. PL stem, which is the intensive form of the verb, like a PL, which basically is an intensive or intentional. And it's an imperfect aspect, which means that it's an intentional verb that's not been completed, that can show, intentionally show it before the king, except the gods, and whose dwelling is not with flesh. Okay, John Gill's commentary on this verse, now that we finished parsing it, is quite interesting. I'm going to read it because it does have some insights that I did not think of while going through this verse. Quote, "And it is a rare thing the king requireth," meaning not scarce or seldom heard of, for they had before asserted it never had been required, but that it was hard and difficult, yea, with them, and as they supposed with any other, impossible to be done. And there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. These men own there was a God, though they held more than one, and the omniscience of God, though they seem to have no notion of his omnipresence, and to suggest as if he had no concern with mortals, had no regard to men on earth, nor communicated the knowledge of things unto them. Several Jewish wise men, Ben Ezra, Sadiah, and Jericho, interpret these of angels, whose are incorporeal, but the superior deities of the Gentiles are rather designed, who were supposed to dwell in heaven and to have no conversation with men on earth. There, these, it is owned, could declare to the king what he desired, and no other, and therefore should not persist in his demand of them. So we have here in this verse, the Chaldeans are answering to the king about this matter, because he has threatened them, he has promised them goods and rewards if they do it, he has threatened to cut them up and make their homes a dunghill, And later on, we're going to find out that all this information has been related to Daniel by one of the king's servants. During the 3-year period that Daniel is being fed the king's meat and wine, that he has now got them to do the vegetables, the pulse, the water, and he is being prepared to learn what he can to stand before the king. And during this time frame, the 2nd year of Daniel's ministry, this is going on. So Daniel's being told this, and he's writing it back in Aramaic because he wants to show that there's been no misinterpretation here. This has been related to me in Aramaic, the Chaldeans language, from the servant of the king, and I'm relating it back in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. So there's no chance of any problems or any accusations of translation miscommunication. And Daniel has put this down. Now here's the one thing that I noticed, that the Chaldean wise men have said that no one can do this, tell the king his dream and the interpretation without being told the dream, except the gods. So no man. This is where God likes to show his glory, is when it's been made impossible to do by man. And now we're going to find out as we go along what transpires with all this and see what the king will do. That's where we are with this. A lot of the commentators have left this verse alone to be interpreted for exactly how it is read, which is the basic element of doing Bible study. If a verse can be interpreted simply by how it is written, then it should be. We wanted to see if there was anything else in here, like the Chaldeans answering the king and saying that, we would show this intentionally, but it can't be done. And they showed that with the parsing of this verse, and that's all we have for this. So may God richly bless you as you go about your way. If you like this, please go down below and hit the subscribe, and then also hit the little bell button, and it'll let you know when the next one comes up. God bless you.